little bit I'm kind of skipping that part. Maybe like for an example, in the MFT file, there are a lot of records. So we'll look at at a high level what this record means. And thing is that again, like thing is that this part has a different meaning. This part has a certain different meaning. So thing is that we don't need to worry about much about that, because thing is that there are certain software, like one of the software is analyze mft.exe. If you give the mft file as an input to that, it will parse that mft for you automatically and get you all the data that you can kind of extract from the mft file. We don't need to remember what's the exact offset where for this record I want to know where the file name is. So this is a record of a file. This is a record of a file, and the record of that file is this one, MFT. Okay, this is a record of the MFT file itself. The first record of MFT file points to the MFT file itself, which says that the file name is MFT. So this actually the file name actually start with a specific offset value. So let's say after this much length, the file name will, let's say, start up over here, showing up over here. Okay, so we don't need to always memorize those things, because there are tools which does that work for us, but at least some basic idea is all fine for us. Okay, so now I'll quickly kind of go through the fat file system and a little bit about NTFS. It will be a little bit theory part, so just kind of hold on, guys. I'll just quickly plug in my charger in this laptop. Just give me 1 second. So now let's quickly look at fat file system in little bit high detail and a little bit theory, guys. So sorry for that. So fat file system. So what is fat file system? I'll just quickly kind of just go through my notes and kind of explain some important terms from there. So fat file system is a file system that was, as you know, was developed by Windows to organize and keep track of files on the storage device. Okay, which we have already seen over here when we do the parsing of this file system. We see files and folders. Okay, and think this fat file system as a, let's say, as a librarian. Okay, who knows, the librarian knows like where a specific book has been kept in the library. Okay, so think the fat file system or any file system as a kind of a library where they know, okay, where the specific files or folders are kept in the whole library. Okay, so that's what like file system is all about. And in layman terms, there are 3 components of the fat file system. The first thing is the FAT, which is the file allocation table itself. So that is one of the components of the fat file system. The next component is the root directory, and the next section is the data area. Okay, so these are the major 3 kind of components of the fat file system. So I'll just quickly go through that one by one. So what is fat? So it is actually kind of a table, or you say like kind of an index card that contains information about where each files start and how it is divided across the storage device. So what it will have is that it will have some kind of a table. Let's say it will tell you, for an example, so it will be some kind of a table. Okay, some kind of a table. Okay, and it will record, okay, let's say the first file 1, f1. Okay, and then there is, let's say, file 2, f2, and then there is, let's say, other file like file 3. It will actually record where this file starts out. So let's say the value is 3 to 10. Okay, for an example, or let's say this file 2 starts from let's say 12 to 15. So what I mean to say is that, like this is the hard drive, this is the USB drive that is having the fat file system. So 3 to 10, which means like the file F1 is somehow starting at this area of this whole drive. You can get the file 1 by reading the binaries from, let's say, 3rd offset to 10th offset, something like that. Okay, so this will just keep a record of that, where that file is existing on that drive. Let's say file 2, it's 12 to 15. So it will just keep an offset that, okay, if you start reading from the first offset, which is here, and if you go from reading to here till 12th number, and if you go till 12 to 15, you will get the file 2. Okay, so it just kind of a table which records, okay, where the files are present on the host. So let's say the file 3 is existing somewhere here. So maybe the offset will be something like, let's say, 30 to, let's say, 40. Okay, so if you start from here at this part and you go to the 30th offset, something like here, some here, and 30 to 40, you will get the file 3. So this is all about like file allocation table at a high level, how it kind of keep tracks of what all files are there, and what is the position of that files in that whole drive. Let's say the USB, so let's say this is a USB drive of 2 GB, and there are multiple files, so it will keep track of where that file is existing in that 2 GB. And then let's say when you mount that file system, let's say in the FTK imager. So what FTK imager will do is that it will read this file allocation table, and it will figure out, okay, these are the list of files that are there in that file allocation table, and it will showcase that to you in similar format. The one that you are seeing over here in tree structure, it will showcase that to you in the similar format, and it will also showcase you what the content of that file is there. Okay, so I hope kind of it was quite easy to understand what file allocation table is. It's just kind of a table which records the file location and what all files are there in the file system. Okay, now there is another thing. The next thing is the root directory, one of the other component of the fat allocation table. And what it is just like this is like a table of content that lists files and directories in a storage device, and with pointers respected to the file allocation table. So it actually, this root directory actually kind of work along with the file allocation table, and the whole objective, basically overall idea, is that it will help in the operating system know about where the file is existing and what is the location of that. So both of these terms actually work hand on hand, and they keep track of the files that are present on the fat allocation system formatted hard drive. Okay, the data area is where actually the actual data actually kind of present on the drive. So there's another kind of component in the fat, which I told, the data area. It actually is data area, I mean, is that, okay, what is the data, where is the data which is present for this file system. So for an example, let's say F1 data might be, let's say it is not just here, but maybe it is also here, for an example. Okay, a little bit of the data is here for F1 and the remaining data is over here. So the fat file system will be able to kind of figure out that, okay, this file is, let's say, the data is over here as well as is over here. So there will be actually a chaining kind of thing, that this data will point out somehow that, okay, then the remaining data is somewhere in this part of the hard drive. Okay, so this thing, the file allocation table, these are three components: fat, root directory, and data area. And their basic work is to kind of tell the operating system what all files are there and what is the position of those files in the hard drive, so that the operating system can showcase us what all files are present in that hard drive and how to kind of fetch the data of that hard drive. Okay, so so that's all actually for the fat file system. There are little bit few things, like there are few versions of fat file system. Let's say one of the version is few version like fat 12, fat 16, fat 32, for an example. And